idea for Models for Heroes came from when I was down at Help for Heroes. It's another charity in the UK. So initially I was on Reddit. I remember it was around Christmas 2016, and I was looking for forums and groups about model making for my own hobby, and I saw an advert for a chap called John Emery, and he was trying to collect models for his little group, and he was sending the models out to Afghanistan for his son to build, and their little group that were stationed out there, and they were asking for more models because it was fantastic, something to do between missions. And I thought that was a really good idea. So I contacted him and said, what's the UK equivalent? And he said he didn't know of any UK equivalent charity like that. And that's when I decided to contact Help for Heroes and ask if I could help them down there. I was attending their rolling recovery program and helping out with volunteering there, and we were running modelling sessions. And we found that model making was really therapeutic and very helpful to the guys there. And we decided that as we grew and more places discovered about model making, we ended up having to make Models for Heroes a charity, and actually turned ourselves into a charitable interest company. And that's where Models for Heroes came from.
Malcolm came and gave a talk to the Model Club. He explained it very well, what his idea was and how it had started. I came and joined in with him at a model session. I enjoyed what I was doing. We then had a request for risk assessment, and I just looked at it and said, oh, I can do that, that's easy. So I did the risk assessments and I came on the board as he formed the group. Since then we took it from a small limited company and we've taken it to a community interest company, which has improved our charitable status. I wanted to volunteer for Models for Heroes because it looked like a worthwhile thing that he had done. Although I'd not worked with the military, I've worked with the Ministry of Defence for many years, and I was at sea with the Merchant Navy. I have an understanding of what people have gone through, and it was just something that ticked the boxes when you were looking for something else to do at home because you had a vacancy in your life. Today we're at Middle Wallop, which is a session that I look after. I have a variety of servicemen come in, serving an X. It can be one sometimes, or it could be 4 or 5. I bring my modelling tools up, open up, prepare the room, and welcome the people as they come in. We then sit down, they get out what they want to work on, or if they're new, we introduce them to modelling, we show them how to work. And I sit there and make models myself, because if I'm making a model of my own, when somebody has a problem, I will stop what I'm doing and go and say, oh, well, this is how I get out of the problem that you've got. But then I've got something to go back to, and I don't sit there and take over what they're doing, which is one of the dangers. It's not taking over their model, it's helping them, pointing them in the right direction. And also, if you get 2 or 3 modelers working, you will find one will go, I don't know how to do this. And somebody else pops up and says, oh, I did that last week, this is how you do it. And they will buddy up, and you chat, listen, have a cup of tea, have a laugh and a joke with them, discuss what you're building and what they're building. I feel that the benefits of the sessions, it's one, it helps them gain motor skills, but also what it does very quietly and without them realising it, helps them to come out to the public, meet with different people. They start helping other modellers and they gain extra confidence. And the lovely thing that I've seen, and I've seen it happen several times now, is a person who struggles to come out, starts modelling, and then they start going, oh, you're doing this model show, can I come? And then they start running a session on their own. They build their confidence, they build up their skills, and it just helps them grow.
Models for Heroes' core values and foundation is building models at modelling sessions. And this is a group of volunteers and a group of veterans come together in a room and put models together. We supply them with the tools, the glues, the clippers, the sanders, the tweezers, The modelling sessions provide a place for the veterans to go and feel relaxed. They will be accepted and welcomed no matter what modelling level you're on, whereabouts you are in your modelling hobby journey. You'll be welcomed, and you will enjoy the hobby as much as anyone else will. It's a frustrating hobby, it's a difficult hobby, but you get a lot of satisfaction from completing the model. Quite often, if it's a military subject somebody's building, they'll have knowledge about that vehicle, essential knowledge that other people perhaps won't have. It's wonderful to see somebody coming alive and realizing that they've got this skill and this knowledge about these vehicles that have done so much for us, in all sorts of different conflicts.
I was invited by Malcolm to attend a 1 hour sort of tester session, and I made a little Rubicon tank, and I really enjoyed it. I felt like I visited my childhood dream, but I also felt a sense of achievement, I guess, that I'd made something tangible with my hands. And now, ever since then, I've attended Model for Hero sessions. But what's important about the sessions are my time that I do at home. I've got PTSD, and with that, one of the biggest worries or concerns is hypervigilance. And so that means for me, I probably see about, I'd say about 140 degrees of sight, but 360 degrees of sound. And it's the sound, actually, when I'm at home, is the distraction, because immediately if there's a sound, it will make me jump, it will startle me, I'll go into fight, flight, freeze mode, and I've got to find out what that sound is. However, when I'm modelling, I do it in my spare room with the door closed, my focus seems to change and my sight narrows down to a little window that's probably only 40 degrees wide. My sound follows that window, and therefore all this is turned off. And it's that turning off which then allows my brain to relax and recover. And I think it's key when you've got a condition like PTSD to find something that enables you to, I wouldn't say switch off, but to relax. So that's why I love the hobby.
So Models for Heroes support armed forces veterans, but also we support emergency service personnel, including former emergency service personnel. And quite often our model making sessions will be in an emergency services headquarters, and because they'll have emergency services personnel there who perhaps had served as well, and quite often veterans and emergency services have a very similar outlook, a very similar banter, similar in terms of their experience with the trauma, and yeah, it's usually a very good gelling of minds when those two groups meet. But yeah, we're very happy to honour and serve both of those and help those two groups out. So we support the Firefighters Charity down in the South UK. We're on a modelling session with one of our volunteers online. This ambulance service is actually local to our headquarters as well, and we provide them with a modelling session, which I absolutely love. And the police, not as much, but they are welcome to contact us, and if they need any support, just as the other services do, then we're quite happy to help them and provide them with some model making.
So I got involved with Modelling for Heroes through a colleague of mine who I work with at Croydon Police Station. He picked up on my Facebook that I was doing modelling. He tapped me up one day and said, "Oh, have you thought about doing this? This is what I do." I think he's been a volunteer for quite some time. So I gave it a little bit more thought, and I applied for it, and after a little while got a reply and looked at it and thought, yeah, I like doing my modelling anyway, so let's extend it. I'm like all police officers at my level of service, we're all broken in some capacity or other, and why not just merge it with my passion, my hobby. So yeah, that's how I got involved. The blue light community is probably an untapped resource at the moment. I mean, the experiences that my colleagues and myself have, we've encountered over the years, we encounter horrific road traffic accidents. As a supervisor, I'm expected to go to every death, no matter how messy it is, how tragic it is, ranging from an 18-month-old baby I went to the other week, to a 90-year-old woman that's collapsed and died in their room, their house sort of thing. It gives me the space to just do my hobby with like-minded people. I can literally talk about any subject in any context and listen to everybody else in their context, and nobody minds their P's and Q's. We just get on with it. We're all the same sort of people. We're all service mentality, and we're all getting on with something actually we seem to come together for the modelling. I personally get out of the sessions, I like the community aspect. We only see each other once a month, but everybody sits down and just picks up the thread where we left off. And free kits. But no, I mostly bring my own kits, but the prospect of being able to build a kit that just happens to be in the box and it's something you probably wouldn't go out and buy or you wouldn't consider buying, yeah, I quite like that. I do like that, so it's good fun. But for me, it's the clear mind space. I mean, that, and I built a shed nearly 3.5 grand's worth of blooming rubbish in it just so I could do this hobby.
Models for Heroes works with other charities by providing them with model kits and resources and volunteers who can offer their guidance with model making. Also, our volunteers are mentally health first aid trained as well, so that they will be able to provide some support towards people's well-being and perhaps catch any challenges early. We will take referrals from the NHS. We take referrals from therapists and caseworkers, support workers from all sorts of different places, mainly the support organisations for veterans, but we provide them with a package in that we'll send them a box of models. We'll also talk to the beneficiary and find out what interests them in terms of modelling and how that can further their hobby and give them some interest into the modelling. If I send somebody a helicopter and they're not interested in helicopters and they want to build figures or paint figures, then they're not going to get interested in the hobby. So we try and find something that's going to spark their interest. That's very helpful for the support organisations, because then they can build on someone who's perhaps changing their behavioural intervention, or perhaps changing their way of thinking.
Models for Heroes, I reached out to them about 6-7 months ago. Malcolm was just sort of fantastic, and being able to sort of give the right advice and the right support, and actually from where the initial contact to where I am now is beyond anything I've ever imagined. Models for Heroes and the support that I get from them as a beneficiary is absolutely second to none. And it's not just about the model building, it's about the camaraderie, and it's about the groups, and it's about the guys that have been through similar sort of issues and traumatic events. And I did 16 years as a combat camera operator, and I've got a big affiliation from helicopters and that side of things, so I really wanted to get into building helicopters and things that I've been in and flown in and all that sort of stuff. Flying in a C-130 and being able to go like that and hanging out the back of a C-130, or flying in a search and rescue, sort of seeking. And so the care package just allows you to go, Malcolm will go, what sort of things you're interested in? And I honestly was just expecting a few little models to get me kickstarted, but this huge box turns up full of like models, paints, scalpels, mats, magnifying glasses, paintbrushes. I didn't really have an airbrush. Malcolm recommended me to apply through the grant system, which is funded through another charity as well. I was successful in getting my grant, and I got a brand new H&S Infinity CR2 airbrush, and it's just set me away, and it just allows you to really delve even deeper into the modelling world, and being able to go from having zero experience in building models to now having some sort of skill in 6 months, and moving from a tiny little Spitfire to building a C-130 Hercules is just outstanding. But what Model for Heroes gives is that banter, the being a part of a group, being a part of something special, and it is special, and it is just beyond anything. And honestly, yes, it has saved my life, because there have been down days, and there have been days where you go, oh, I don't really want to get up here, but you go, you know what, I'm going to go out to the shed in freezing cold weather and just enjoy a little bit of tinkering with a model and get some paint and learn, or just posting something on the Models for Heroes Facebook site and say, hey guys, any chance of getting help with this? And getting some help with that, and it's just fantastic.
And one of the unwritten rules for modelling sessions was that any staff that are there, or any +1s that are there, they have to build a model. And it was through that we had our ambassador, Matt. His first session he went along to, he opened up his laptop and started doing work, and I wasn't having that. I said, no, you're getting involved. And he started building something, and then he started talking about the helicopter he built when he was a kid. And I think I managed to find a very similar one and gave it to him, and he built that, and then he's now an ambassador for Models for Heroes. So whether he's still building models, I'm not sure. I hope he is. I think he wants to. But yeah, it's once you build the model and you get into that zone, that's when people realise how important it is, and important to have any hobby, not just model making.
The benefits of Models for Heroes for people with mental health issues for me are that it's an additional kind of string to the bow, really, in that it's something else that they get in terms of support. So that there's lots of kind of state sponsored things like mental health services, GP services, or addiction services, those sorts of things that people are entitled to. But then an additional support network from this is quite important, really. For me, the benefits specifically of Models for Heroes are kind of twofold, really. One is that social inclusion. I think it brings people together and gives them kind of a reason to be together and just kind of sit around and chew the fat and shoot the breeze. Although you're there working on your individual model, there's a whole network that's built up around it. So there's all sorts of Facebook groups and kind of platforms and YouTube groups where people kind of sit and discuss their models and talk about the different modelling techniques, and so there's that aspect of it. But then there is just this social aspect. So I think a lot of people who struggle with mental health problems are often a little bit avoidant of kind of other people by dint of, particularly for post-traumatic stress disorder, that's one of the major symptoms of it is avoidance. So people don't necessarily make the time or feel able to kind of be around people without having a purpose. So this gives people a purpose to be together and kind of get together with like-minded individuals, build that social network, talk to other people, even if it's just about everyday things. But inevitably in some of the sessions that I've been in, it kind of leads to discussions of their troubles and difficulties that they're having, and that can be really powerful as a kind of intervention, really, because it normalises it. Because, like I say, people don't want to think or talk about these things. It's very uncomfortable to think or talk about those things, so they don't. So they then think it's just them that's having that experience. But by having that conversation with other people in similar boats, they realise that they're not on their own, and that this is quite normal. It's not something to be ashamed of. And there's a lot of work out there going on in the wider kind of culture about being able to share and being able to talk about mental health problems and remove that stigma that exists. And that's one of the things that Models for Heroes is good for, because it gives you that opportunity to talk to other people and share your experiences and hear about those experiences and realise it's not just you.
I know of a veteran who was struggling with images of armour, images of tanks in conflict, and one of his goals he was recommended by his therapist was to build some armour. We arranged to send him the tank that he had actually worked on. We sent it to his home. He received the tank, found it very difficult to open up the box because he knew it was in there. We eventually did. He took a day off, his wife had taken a day off, and they both sat and opened the box. And of course the image of the tank on the front was difficult for him to see because he'd been avoiding films and all sorts of things, and he found it hard to even write the word down. But he opened the box, but of course there was no tank inside there. It was just bits. As he was looking through the parts, he was recognising different parts as different parts that he worked on and he knew and he had fixed and he had spent time working on, and he noticed that the air filters were wrong. They were not the ones that he had on his tank. So he went into his loft, got his photographs from the conflict that he had not looked at since he had got home. His wife had never seen them. He went through the photographs and showed his wife how wrong the kit was. His wife was amazed because she'd never seen his photographs before. She'd never seen him, you know, in his role. And this was where he had been excelling. This was what he did best. He did build the kit slowly. It slowly started to become harder for him as he was putting the tracks on, and it started to look like the model kit. But it was because he wanted to build it. He wanted to make it. He had that excitement, you know, that we all do when we were children about building things, and that never really leaves us. And that helped him relax. It helped him think straight again, you know. Now he does have that model kit on his mantelpiece, you know, so he got through that.
I was introduced to Models for Heroes by one of my patients, Steve, who works down at the Brighton Models for Heroes branch, and he asked me to come along and have a look and see what I thought, because he thought it would be something that might be of use to some of the veteran population that come through the clinic who may well be looking for outlets to meet up with other like-minded veterans, and also many of them have problems with long-term post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety, some issues around social exclusion. As with many of the veterans that we come across in these clinical environments, they feel somewhat disconnected from their old life in the military, and this is a possible opportunity for them to come back and reconnect with like-minded individuals who've had similar or shared experiences, thereby improving their quality of life and also giving them a really interesting and repeatable hobby. A hobby that you can do easily but that requires a bit of concentration, a little bit of focus, adds into it something that is achievable but still challenging. And I think that is a great thing for some of these guys to be offered. I think that Models for Heroes would benefit the patient group that I look after, which is predominantly the physical side of things, because I'm a trauma and orthopaedic surgeon, and we deal with the limbs, the back, that sort of problem. But the whole patient needs to be considered, and a patient's recovery from any of these conditions, whether it's treated conservatively or surgically, is heavily dependent on their mental well-being and how they are coping with the pain and discomfort that they're experiencing. We know that people's pain perception for the same stimulus is significantly increased if they have problems with depression, if they have problems with anxiety. So actually helping them have an outlet that enables them to manage that or manage their PTSD can improve the painful joint, the painful back, the sore muscles, whatever the condition happens to be. And that's where I think something like Model for Heroes is a really useful environment and a good adjunct for people who have these sorts of conditions.
As a volunteer, I'm responsible essentially for organising the delivery of the session, so agreeing the date that we're going to meet, making sure we've got a good supply of models and tools and paints and all the rest of it, and then just being around to facilitate the session, which is normally 4 hours on a Saturday afternoon, keeping a flow of tea and coffee going, keeping the banter going. We have a pat dog, my dog. My job is a volunteer about creating community, about building engagement, looking at our group members. We have former army, we have serving army, we have police, we have Air Force. You know, it's quite an eclectic and entertaining mix.
The difference between what we do with the Make and Take is to promote model making from an early age and give them dexterity and mindfulness, and also using their brains and skills with their hands. So what we do is, if we find out if any of the parents have got any skill, if they've got any skill, then we can show them where everything is. And then with the donate and create, they can just get on with it, and we point where everything is. When we've got parents that have got very little skill or no skill, what we do, we'll actually physically sit down and do a little bit of a teaching. One of the things I like about that is that you've got a captive audience, for want of a better word, but also you're talking about what we do with Model of Heroes, which is really cool. I would say 99% of people are really supportive of what we do with this. Well, what we do find, and the parents seem to find, is when their child comes along and they have a go, whether it be painting an action figure, building a tank, building an aeroplane, and or painting, that they see a different aspect of their child. But also as well, where sometimes the parents are helping them, it's almost like it's a family affair. These sessions with Donate and Create are my favourite, because I find that you can have really good interaction with the parents, good interaction with the kids. and you walk away and it's really humbling to see their faces all bright, shiny, full of joy and pride in what they've done.
So I think model making, as many hobbies give relaxation, model making certainly allows you to lose yourself. Certainly if you're doing sort of complex part of a build, that you've got to concentrate fully on that, otherwise you're going to mess it up. So yeah, whatever's going on sort of goes out of focus, and for that model making period you're solely focused on getting all those track links together. Hobbies are key. Even Winston Churchill said every man needs at least one good hobby. Certainly within the military sphere there's a lot of beneficiaries that like to make the vehicles or the machinery that they worked on. Now we have that ability to be able to do that, whereas years ago there was only a few kits. Now there's a lot bigger range in injected plastic moulding that allows a lot more beneficiaries to build the equipment that they've worked on.
We have been supported by Romsey Model Show for a good 3 or 4 years now, I think, maybe even more. And they've always got some time for us, and we've got space for us. And they do raise money for us, as well as their other charity, and that all money comes from the tombola.
As many people know, Malcolm set up Models for Heroes probably 5 years ago?
Six
years ago. And so we're happy to give this cheque to Malcolm from last year's proceeds. Hopefully we'll do as well this year.
Yeah.
And you'll be back at our next show.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, do that. The patrons that visit the model show come and bring us model kits and donate them. The car has got about 40 different model kits in it, just from today, for people who understand model making and how it can help you. So we'll pass those on to beneficiaries as soon as we possibly can. Oh, there we go. As if by magic. Oh, wow. Are you sure?
Absolutely positive.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. We like coming to the shows and talking to the model makers and talking to the general public about what we do and their families and telling them what we do, and they all agree that model making is such a wonderful hobby for relaxation and focus, patience. More and more people, as we go on, are saying that they've heard of us before, yeah, which is really good news, because that's what we want. We want people to talk about what we do, we want to talk about the hobby and help as many people as we possibly can. So Models for Heroes are here at the Tangmere Military Aviation Museum, and we are here to speak to the general public that are coming to the museum to the model show. It's important for Models for Heroes to be out in the public, to speak to people who potentially want to donate to us, speak to new beneficiaries, and also the families as well, to promote the hobby in general. You get a lot of public at museums rather than specific model shows. It's nice to be able to speak to the public about what we do and our cause. And we like to go to model shows so that beneficiaries can show the work that they've done. And they can get that buzz and feedback from the public who come by and say, oh, I like that tank, or I like that Spitfire, or whatever. And I think that is really important in building someone's self-confidence with the hobby, and also getting a sense of purpose. There's a reason that I've made this, because it's brought pleasure to somebody else as well. And it's a joy showing your work off to other people. So people can help Models for Heroes by going to modelsforheroes.org.uk, and on there you will see that you can get support for yourself, if you're part of our remit. You can get support for your organisation. If you are a case or support worker, you can donate to Models for Heroes. You can donate funds, kits, you can donate flying hours that you can get on the side of all Airfix boxes.
So when I came back to the business, Airfix already had a relationship with Models for Heroes through Darryl Burge and Malcolm Charles. I have an experience of mental health, well-being. It's a huge thing of mine. So I know how hard it can be. Anything I can do and for the business to do to help support other people in those situations, I am all for. Whether that's my role as head of brand for Airfix or me individually, I will do whatever I can do to support Models for Heroes. You can send in your flying hours. Nearly every Airfix product has a flying hours token. If you're an Airfix Club member, you can send those in to us with your passport and we send you free kits. Model to Heroes, if you like, is a super Airfix Club member. So you can send your flying hours to Model to Heroes. You don't have to be a club member to cut them off your box. Send them into Model to Heroes. They send us thousands at the end of every year with a list of kits, and we send them all those kits. So if they need paintbrushes, paints, additional kits for events like this today. Of course, we also shout about Model to Heroes in any marketing opportunity that we have.
Also on the website is the address where you can send model kits. We prefer the model kits to be unstarted, so not touched by glue or paint if possible. We don't mind that somebody's opened up the kit and had a look and had a sniff and, you know, made sure that the plastic's all there. But if we could have unstarted model kits with instructions and with the decals, that'd be absolutely brilliant. So also on the website you can go to the volunteer section and you can see a list of roles and guidelines for volunteering and helping out Models for Heroes. If you are interested and had some time to give to us, then you can fill out an application form. We require a couple of references and an interview from you. We'd love to hear from you if you were able to give some time back.
Can I go now?